Day 664, Friday, June 6th, Ezekiel 46. Ezekiel 46 1-24. Thus says the Lord God, the gateway of the inner court that faces toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and on the day of the new moon it shall be opened. The prince shall enter by way of the vestibule of the gateway from the outside, and stand by the gatepost. The priests shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings. He shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go out, but the gate shall not be shut until evening. Likewise the people of the land shall worship at the entrance to this gateway before the Lord on the Sabbaths and the new moons. The burnt offering that the prince offers to the Lord on the Sabbath day shall be 6 lambs without blemish, and a ram without blemish, and the grain offering shall be 1 ephah for a ram, and the grain offering for the lambs, as much as he wants to give, as well as a hin of oil with every ephah. On the day of the new moon, it shall be a young bull without blemish, 6 lambs and a ram, they shall be without blemish. He shall prepare a grain offering of an ephah for a bull, an ephah for a ram, as much as he wants to give for the lambs, and a hin of oil with every ephah. When the prince enters, he shall go in by way of the vestibule of the gateway, and go out the same way. But when the people of the land come before the Lord on the appointed feast days, whoever enters by way of the north gate to worship shall go out by way of the south gate, and whoever enters by way of the south gate shall go out by way of the north gate. He shall not return by way of the gate through which he came, but shall go out through the opposite gate. The prince shall then be in their midst. When they go in, he shall go in, and when they go out, he shall go out. At the festivals and the appointed feast days the grain offering shall be an ephah for a bull, an ephah for a ram, as much as he wants to give for the lambs, and a hin of oil with every ephah. Now when the prince makes a voluntary burnt offering or voluntary peace offering to the Lord, the gate that faces toward the east shall then be opened for him, and he shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings as he did on the Sabbath day. Then he shall go out, and after he goes out the gate shall be shut. You shall daily make a burnt offering to the Lord of a lamb of the first year without blemish. You shall prepare it every morning. And you shall prepare a grain offering with it every morning, 1/6 of an ephah, and 1/3 of a hin of oil to moisten the fine flour. This grain offering is a perpetual ordinance, to be made regularly to the Lord. Thus they shall prepare the lamb, the grain offering, and the oil as a regular burnt offering every morning. Thus says the Lord God, if the prince gives a gift of some of his inheritance to any of his sons, it shall belong to his sons. It is their possession by inheritance. But if he gives a gift of some of his inheritance to one of his servants, it shall be his until the year of liberty, after which it shall return to the prince. But his inheritance shall belong to his sons, it shall become theirs. Moreover, the prince shall not take any of the people's inheritance by evicting them from their property. He shall provide an inheritance for his sons from his own property, so that none of my people may be scattered from his property. Now he brought me through the entrance which was at the side of the gate, into the holy chambers of the priests which faced toward the north, and there a place was situated at their extreme western end. And he said to me, This is the place where the priests shall boil the trespass offering and the sin offering, and where they shall bake the grain offering, so that they do not bring them out into the outer court to sanctify the people. Then he brought me out into the outer court, and caused me to pass by the 4 corners of the court. And in fact, in every corner of the court there was another court. In the 4 corners of the court were enclosed courts, 40 cubits long and 30 wide. All 4 corners were the same size. There was a row of building stones all around in them, all around the 4 of them, and cooking hearths were made under the rows of stones all around. And he said to me, These are the kitchens where the ministers of the temple shall boil the sacrifices of the people. Daily Deep Dive. The UCG reading plan states, as we saw earlier, the outer east gate will be permanently shut following Christ's arrival. The inner east gate is to be open for certain religious observances such as the Sabbaths and new moons. During the work week the inner east gate is closed, perhaps symbolic of the fact that mankind was shut out from God for 6 millennia as a result of sin. The prince is to bring the offerings he was instructed to provide for the people, and to go through the inner east gate to the edge of the inner court while these offerings are prepared. The gate is then to remain open for the remainder of the day, so that others may worship at the entrance of the gate, verses 1-3. If the prince brings an offering on a day when the east gate is normally shut, it will be opened for him, but closed again when he is finished with the offering, verse 12. And as we saw earlier, If the prince was making a peace offering, he would proceed across the pavement of the outer courtyard to the outer east gate, for eating his part of the sacrifice. Ezekiel 44:3. Ezekiel 46:9 describes an interesting traffic pattern for the annual feasts. When entering the temple courts for the feasts, the people will be required to pass through the outer courtyard, and not just go in and back out again the way they came. Some have suggested this as improving the traffic flow, but others see it perhaps as more symbolic of the people not returning to their former ways. The people will not likely just pass through, of course. Part of the reason for entering the temple is to partake of the peace offerings, which is the reason for the abundance of dining chambers, which probably also double as meeting rooms as such facilities often do for us today. But neither will the people come in just to eat of the sacrifices. Rather, everyone will be required to go past the front of the east inner gate before proceeding on his way. This area between the inner and outer east gates is 100 cubits wide, as we have seen Ezekiel 4:19, and provides a place where praise and thanksgiving can be offered to God on the weekly Sabbaths, and on the new moons 46:3. But during the annual feasts, there will be too many people in attendance for all to gather together there for worship. Instead, people will visit this place of prayer and singing as they are going out or coming in. And as they do so, they will also be crossing over the river of life that proceeds from God's temple, which we will read about in chapter 47. Then, in order to get back to where they came from, if they didn't circle around on their way to the temple, people will have to go around the outer perimeter of the temple complex as well, perhaps along the east side where they may wade in the river of life and, as mentioned in chapter 47, partake of the fruitful trees alongside it, elsewhere shown to parallel the tree of life, and gather of their leaves for their healing. Inheritance laws are mentioned in verses 16 to 18 of Ezekiel 46, where we discover that the law of Jubilees will be in effect, where land is returned to the family that originally owned it in the 50th year. The year of liberty, see Leviticus 25. For the remainder of Ezekiel 46, the prophet is shown various cooking places. The bulk of sacrifices, especially at feasts, are peace offerings. Only the blood and fat of such sacrifices are offered to God. The remainder is eaten by the offerer, with a token portion consumed by the priest as well. Also, most sin and trespass offerings are eaten by the priests, and the grain offerings need to be baked. In chapter 42, we were shown the dining chambers for the priests, 3-story buildings west of the north and south inner gates. Apparently the kitchens for these chambers are to the west of the dining rooms, in the previously unaccounted for area at the northwest and southwest corners of the inner court building complex, verses 19 to 20. It does not actually say whether the cooking places for the priests will be indoors or out. There are also cooking areas, in this case outdoor patios with built-in, presumably wood-burning stoves for the temple servants Levites, for 4:11 to cook the people's portions of the sacrifices, located in the 4 corners of the outer court. We are told they are each 30 times 40 cubits, more than 5,000 square feet. Since the people also need places to eat this prepared food, this is most likely the purpose of the chambers that surround the outer court. End.